What's important with fire protection systems is that fire protection systems are there to protect people, not the building. Oftentimes we have a lot of people coming into the office saying, you know, nothing's going to burn in here. It's solid concrete walls or it's brick. Well, the protection systems are there to protect you. You're not solid brick. You're flesh and bones. So the systems like sprinklers and fire alarms, the name of the game is getting out of the building. So it's notification and suppression if it's required by the occupant load. But the name of the game for us is getting out of the structure. Firefighting is for firefighters. It's not for the occupants of the building. Fire suppression systems and fire alarm systems are generally required at a level of occupant load. Okay, so we came up with those factors to determine what our occupant load is going to be. And then we have to look at the occupancy and the use. And then we determine, yes, it needs a fire alarm system, or no, it doesn't, or a sprinkler system. In most occupancies that are assemblies, the churches, the bars, the restaurants, you get over 100, and at 100 occupants, that triggers the installation of a sprinkler system. Typically, we want all of our schools to be protected. So we're always going to require, at a minimum, notification alarms so people can get out, and all new schools are required to have full sprinkler systems. So as we've changed and building materials change and the number of people increase, certain occupancies by code are required to have certain types of systems. So there isn't like one answer that we can give to say, okay, every occupancy at this level has to have that system requirement. So we always tell people, regardless of what your project is, you need to come in and talk to us here at the Fire Marshal's office so we can show you where in the code these requirements are and why they exist. Small businesses, we don't typically require suppression systems. We do start getting into that when we start getting into mixed use. So maybe you have retail and then upstairs you're going to have some sort of living facility. As an example, in my home, I have interconnected hardwired smoke detection. So if a smoke detector goes off in one of my kids' rooms, I get notified in my room, and so it acts as a system. So you should always, in a home, we should always have a working smoke detector in every sleeping room and in the vicinity of. Additionally, if we have gas in our home through a water heater or cooking, we should have carbon monoxide detectors. And so for a very low price, you can actually have these things installed by a licensed electrician, and then you can actually turn this into your insurance company and get a rebate on your insurance, on your homeowner's insurance. So it's a very good thing to do. A lot of people think that when you go over to the wall and you pull that little red lever down, you're going to activate the sprinklers. That couldn't be further from the truth. What you're activating is noise and visual alerts. So we have audio visual devices that you'll typically see in schools, businesses, and so forth. And what you're doing is we strategically by code put those by exit doors or in the paths of exit so that you can get on your way. You can activate the system, put the building into alarm, and get people to evacuate. What we often see, though, is we see false alarms. We see people setting off fire alarm systems in businesses by popping popcorn in microwaves or smoking near an exit where you have a smoke detection device and setting off those alarms. And then we get accustomed to it just being an alarm and, you know, there's really not a fire. So we need to kind of retrain ourselves to be more cognizant that each time that alarm goes off, even if it's a false alarm, we need to exit the building each time and every time. Those alarm devices have to ring at a minimum of 85 decibels, so 85 to 110 is what they're typically set at. And you should see, when you walk through a building, when you walk out into a corridor of a large office building, you should see audio-visual devices in the corridors, either on the walls or mounted to the ceiling. And they should have noise and a lot of light. And it's to alert you, to help you get out and remind you, hey, it's time to go. If smoke detection is in the building, and smoke detection is not always required in business occupancies, okay? If that lever is not working and you don't have smoke detection, then there's a problem and we need to get the fire alarm checked out by a licensed fire alarm company. Now, regardless of the occupancy, a fire alarm panel, the main brain for the system, is required to have a smoke detector located in proximity to it. Thereby, if there is a fire in that room, the smoke detector will go off, alert the system, put the system into alarm before it burns up. So that's the idea of that. So if you pull that station and it doesn't work, you're going to have a problem with your fire alarm system, and it needs to be examined. Sprinklers are only activated by heat. Each sprinkler head is heat rated. So most of your heads in your business occupancies are about 165 degrees. Now, we've talked many times about the misnomers of sprinkler systems. When one sprinkler head goes off, it's only the affected head, the head that's affected by the heat source that goes off. They don't all go off. So typically in your James Bond movies or your Jack in the Box commercials, you'll see somebody either pull a pull station, you'll see a whole sprinkler system goes off. Well, that's not how they're designed to work. Everybody's always afraid that if they put that sprinkler in their building, they're going to flood out their stuff, whether it's archives and records or art museums and so forth. But they're never going to do that. This has been tested time and time again. They either have a fusible link or they have a frangible bulb, and it breaks on the temperature, on a certain temperature rating, and then that's when the water flows out of that head. Otherwise, all the other heads around it are going to be fine until they reach a point where the heat triggers their actuating mechanisms.